Okay, I was literally going to start with Theatrhythm Curtain Call. Why have you decided to do a new title instead of just add more songs onto Theatrhythm?
Okay, look, when we first made the original Theatrhythm, it was very early in the 3DS life cycle. It had just come out and we weren't sure about a lot of the specs and things it could do. At the time, it was actually impossible to just continue indefinitely increasing the number of songs via DLC. So it would actually have been impossible to do that with the first game. But no, so obviously when we come to make the second one, we wanted to create a complete, finished Final Fantasy experience. And not just stop at just having an extra set of songs for the original game. So we introduced a lot of new, exciting features, such as the versus mode, and the quest mode where you can build your characters up and go on different quests. So in that respect, we want to do a lot more than just add extra songs into
that leads on to my next question, which is obviously the general gist of gameplay still stays the same. We've added these new modes and features, but where did the ideas for those come from? Is there something you wanted to do first time but just couldn't do, or didn't have the time to, or is there something over time that you felt was something that was needed to make it more like a traditional Final Fantasy?
No, I mean, the first point was that yes, when we were making the original Theatrhythm game, we really did come up with lots of ideas. Oh, it would be a great idea to include this. We really want to have this in the game, and we got this massive list that was way too big to include. So yeah, for the second game, obviously we wanted to do something. That was the first main reason why we did it. And also, when we came around to actually starting work on Curtain Call for second time, our creative producer, Mr. Nomura Tetsuya, he came up to me and said that if we're going to make the new game, we have to have a versus mode in there. It was really his idea to put that in there. That's why we did that.
How do you actually pick the songs that end up in Theatrhythm? This time we see stuff from Lightning Returns, from 13, 32. So it's not just an updating, but there's also original tracks as well. What makes the cut? How do you?
Yeah, I mean it was basically the same for both this game and the previous game. But if we did it, what we really were trying to do is not put our own opinions and our own preferences in there to the degree as much as possible. Because if we did that, then obviously everyone's got their own favourite Final Fantasy games, ones that they like and they don't. So they'd be really unbalanced, it really tilt in one direction way too far if we did that. So in order to pick a good balance of songs, I mean, we obviously try and represent each of the games as well as possible in a balanced way. But to decide which are the most popular songs, what people want, we've got a lot of different things we reference. So for example, there's a lot of online rankings lists that people have already made. And on top of that, we did our own surveys to find out what people's favourite songs were. And also because we have our business publishing the Final Fantasy music is selling CDs. They've obviously got sales data that we use as a reference to find out what people are buying. And in that way, we really did find out what the other people wanted from Final Fantasy, rather than just deciding what we wanted to do.
So you'd say it's a very community-driven game in that sense?
No, I mean certainly when it comes to creating Final Fantasy, I mean it sounds a bit trite, but it really is not just our thing. Final Fantasy belongs to the fans of Final Fantasy. So certainly when selecting the songs that we want to put in there, it really has to be something that everyone wants to represent the whole community. That's a really important point there whenever we make any Final Fantasy game. So that's clearly my view of that. And obviously even after that you still get people saying, well, why haven't we got this? Couldn't we have this in there? Why don't we put one of those? So it really did create a huge number of songs. And, I mean the number of songs in the game is 221 different tracks, which I mean there's very few games with that much content in there, which comes out in the end. But no, everyone's got their favourites, there'll always be preferences.
So with those 221 tracks, are all of those playable in versus mode and in the quest mode you play through all of them?
No, there's the three types of music stages, right? The battlefield event stages. The only ones you can play in the versus mode are the battle stages. You play through that mode. Then the quest medley mode is made up of the battle and field stages. So there's no events in that. So that's how the breakdown works.
Okay, so it's sort of a similar form to previous Theatrhythm then?
No, I mean the quest medley mode is obviously it's set on a map. So you've got the map of the world and the quest set out there on the screen. You've got each little area which represents either a battle or a field stage. You sort of progress through that map, going through the different stages, and eventually you'll find a boss. You fight the boss to complete the quest. And that's basically the idea of that kind of mode.
In Theatrhythm you had different types of music stages, so it's still the same division between tracks?
No, I mean, the three different types are very much there, and you go through the map and the stages you come across are exactly the same kind of things as you found in the original game, the same setup. But there's a very subtle difference there that occasionally you get monsters coming into the and have interruption attacks is making the game a lot harder for you. That's something slightly new that's different.
You've already stated that this was going to be the last Theatrhythm title that you're going to develop. I mean, is there any reason as to why you don't want to carry on after?
Okay, actually, to make it completely accurately what I said, this is going to be the last Theatrhythm Final Fantasy.
Right.
So for the game handling Final Fantasy, this is what I'm making this the last one in the series. But in the future, I'd really like to continue the series, maybe using something else, doing other songs. Obviously, there's nothing concrete at the moment. We haven't got any full plans, but it's not the end of the series as such. That's the first point I'd like to make. I mean, the reason this is going to be the last full game with the Final Fantasy, Theatrhythm Final Fantasy logo, is because I really intended to make this as complete and finished a product as possible. And we put everything that we wanted to do in the Final Fantasy Rhythm game in there. But going back to your first question, how we'd like to continue with this title is exactly as you suggested. We're just going to keep expanding on it using downloading content. So we've got the base curtain called Final Fantasy, and that's just going to continue indefinitely on again, and just become more and more a complete collection of Final Fantasy music. So that is what we're trying to do with this one.
Also, Theatrhythm Final Fantasy came to iOS last year, a couple of years ago. Have you thought about maybe doing something similar with Curtain Call, a bit further down the line, for the reception?
Actually, at the moment we aren't really thinking about it. We haven't got any plans to take that to iOS. Like I just said in the previous answer, we're thinking this is the final definitive version, and at the moment we're just going to keep it as it is.
And finally from me, other than your own, what is your favourite Final Fantasy game?
自分が作ったタイトル以外で一番好きなファイナルファンタジーです。
これはあれだぞ、答え方によっては角が立つぞ、社内で。
That's a very difficult one because regarding what I say now, I'm going to be put upon by different people in the company.
Final Fantasy 6.
Final Fantasy 6.
Excellent.
素晴らしいタイトルです。
No, I think that's a really great game.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, 僕も大好きです。
本当にあれは素晴らしいです。
No, it's a really great game.
I think 7 or 9 are mine.
自分が一番好きなのはセブンかナインなんですけどね。
ナイン好きはうちの宣伝と担当。
Like we've got a PR lady here, she's a very big fan of Nine.
Yeah.
There is one Final Fantasy for everyone.
本当にね、一人一人好きなファイナルファンタジーあるんですよ。
そうなんだ。だからシアトルズムが221曲になっちゃうんですね。
That's why there has to be 221 songs in Theatrhythm. We need that many to cover it.
So he is in promotion since few months now. If we go from here, how is live this moving away a lot of works? How we live this period? How does it feel now?
No, I mean, it may be going a bit far to say I really enjoy myself every day, but no, I mean, the thing is I get very few opportunities to go and meet the fans and just talk to people. Obviously, talk to people like you guys here and just talk about the games and what I do. So, no, yeah, I'm very happy about that. I mean, I don't think I'm the kind of person who's particularly great at getting up and talking in front of people. But no, I'm really enjoying it in that way. And yeah, I'd like to carry on doing this kind of stuff until people just tell me, look, you've had enough now, you're a bit loud, go away. You've had enough. So until I'm told that, I'm going to keep doing it.
And after this period, before this period, how can you explain us the typical weeks of his works on the game?
No, I mean, I think obviously it's quite a small period of time I actually spend doing this kind of PR stuff. Obviously, although having said that, we've got the Tokyo Game Show coming up in September, so when I go back, I'll be doing this kind of PR question answering again in about a month or so's time. But no, really, I don't have that long doing these kinds of PR things. When I get back, I normally spend most of my time at my day job, just talking, having meetings with people from outside companies, and talking to my team and discussing how projects are going. So I think most of my life is spent in meetings.
Did you find any times to work, to play?
I'm not sure you really were enjoying me talking about this, but yeah, I play in the bar. I play games in the bar. I mean, I don't know if you've seen Japanese bars, but they've got like a lid over the top of cover which keeps the water warm. So basically, I just get in the bar, put the cover back a little bit, and then put a towel on top of it, and sit there playing my 3DS while I'm in the bar.
It's why he works on the 3DS games.
だから 3DS ゲームばっかり作ってるんですよ。
確かにそうやって遊べるゲームがあれですね。お風呂の中でやるには理想的です。
No, I think indeed that's the kind of game that's perfect for playing in the bar. That's what I make.
So after this period, can he say to us, no spoiler, can he say to us what he hopes, what he expects to do to create like him?
I mean, obviously can't say anything completely concrete about plans or announcements, but no, personally, really ask me what I really want to do, I'd really quite like to have an opportunity to collaborate and do a cooperation with one of the really top-level development guys from abroad, which is a foreign game creator or studio. I mean, certainly a lot of overseas foreign creators, the way they see things and appreciate things and what they want to do is very different to what I'm used to. So I think having opportunities to say and have them bring a proposal and say, we'd like to make this kind of game, we'd like it this way. And then for me to react to that and say, well, no, I've got this idea, or how can we do that? And just bounce ideas off each other and create something new and very interesting and fresh. I think that'd be a really great opportunity and really stimulating. So if I'm possible, I'd love to do something like that.
Thank you.
Oh,